Tumbleweed, the neighbouring town to Armadillo. Not a particularly energetic place, as in the events of Red Dead Redemption 2 the town appears to be on the decline, and in the events of Red Dead Redemption the town is completely abandoned, living up to its name. Now in Red Dead Redemption we hear that Tumbleweed is abandoned because the railroad completely skipped it out and went to Armadillo instead. However, that only sounds like part of the story, so in today's video we're going to fathom why was Tumbleweed abandoned. Now I can think of 4 reasons why the town might have been abandoned. The first one is the lack of railway passing through the town, which we've already explored. There's not really much more to that one. Then there are 3 other points that I'd like to make. Sheriff Freeman, the Del Lobo gang which has been harassing Tumbleweed, and the curse in New Austin. So first things first, let's take a look at the sheriff. Now when you first arrive in Tumbleweed in the epilogue of the game, this is the encounter you're met by.
Sheriff! Look what I found! He's in the Del Lobo gang!
You know what they do with them 10 stars in Mexico, boy?
Hey! Hey!
Keep your
What's all the
distance. We
nonsense?
got business here.
You don't release me now, 12 angry Mexicans is gonna ride through this town. Burn it all to hell.
Hey, just passing through.
Only
Don't
lock
mind
me up
me.
if you want this town
You
to
stay
burn,
back, I
Sheriff.
won't tell you again.
We do not respond amicably to threats. What's the charge?
He was robbing a stage.
Then the sentence is death. Make
Hey,
your
no!
peace,
The
partner.
boy was gonna put me in cell!
This is wartime, and like you said,
No!
we can't take the risk.
Sheriff?
Okay. From now on, trials are going to be quick, and justice even quicker. We will not submit to these lawless games. Get this trash out of town.
So the sheriff executed the Del Lobo without any fair trial. There are other interactions which you can have with the sheriff, such as the following.
We are a law-abiding people here. Remember that. All of you remember that the law, and only the law, is king. You, tough guy. Welcome to Tumbleweed. Make yourself at home. Treat this place with respect, and we will respect you. Here in Tumbleweed, there is one law. My law. The law. My law is the law, and my law is just and fair and extremely unforgiving. Challenge me, and you will discover a new definition of justice. My definition.
You'll also find him essentially just shouting at his people over in the square, if that's what you would call it.
All of you, this is Tumbleweed. We are the end of the civilized world. Anarchy exists just outside this town, but here, life is good. And life is good because we follow the rules. Disobedience will be fatal. None of you forget that. This is a law-abiding town, my friends. We follow the rules. We live the rules. The rules make us happy. The rules are America. America is a land of laws. I am the arbiter of the law. I am the rules. And in this town, the rule of law shall be absolute. I hope that is clear. I hope you are all having a wonderful day today. A wonderful law-abiding day. And what is the hallmark of civilization, my friends? Let me tell you. The hallmark is obedience to the law. The law is king. The law is emperor. The law is a bastard who will strike you down, and a tender mother who will nurse you if you let her. So, it's up to you what you want from this life and from your interactions with the law.
So from what we've heard from this guy, it's pretty obvious to understand that he is obsessed with the law. I mean, he is a sheriff, and that is kind of his job, but even above and beyond that. And from what we've seen from the sheriff so far, it's fair to say that it appears as if his control is absolute. He is the law in this town. And considering he stands preaching in the square all day, he doesn't want anybody to forget it. Now this rather imposing sounding bloke isn't just all talk and no trousers either. If you find yourself in a fight with the sheriff, he will kill you in one shot regardless of your health. There are a few characters that can do that in Red Dead Redemption 2. The only other two examples I can think of are the Night Folk and a vampire, and I'm not assuming that he's either. But Sheriff Freeman is a scary man who has a lot of power over this town, which would drive a lot of people out. Because as much as you might not intend on breaking the law, it's no fun living under a ruthless tyrant. So it's entirely possible that the sheriff could be a factor in why the town was abandoned. Furthermore, he plays sort of into the Del Lobo bit. Not only does this gang seem to have it in for the town, but also they appear to have a rivalry with the sheriff, or at least they have something against the sheriff as an individual. As far as bounty hunting goes in Tumbleweed, both of the missions that you can get are to go after Del Lobo members. The first bounty doesn't mention much of the sheriff besides from calling him a coward when you pop him in the cell.
You couldn't come get me, Sheriff? You yellow belly, you coward, you see some vaquero.
I could come after you, Arroyo, but it's so damn hot out there, I didn't want to sweat.
My friends, they're gonna come for you.
Then they'll die too. Now save some breath for my questions, boy.
However, Joaquin Arroyo does mention that the Del Lobo gang is a force to be reckoned with.
You know that the Lobos? Hey, we killed and we burned all the way across the country. You should be scared. You should be quaking in your boots, vaquero.
The second and final bounty mission that you can get from Tumbleweed displays more of the gang's feelings towards the sheriff. But also in this mission we technically wipe out the gang, so they're no longer a threat to Tumbleweed.
Hey! We're meant to be holding up here, aren't we? Shit, that priest like yourself, Freeman.
Here they describe Freeman as a damn scalp hunter, which may be a reference to the DC Comics Wild West hero, Scalp Hunter. But even if not, I think this is essentially saying that Sheriff Freeman is a savage, as scalping is quite a brutal act, so it would appear as if the sheriff has left an impression on the Del Lobos. So let's wipe out the Del Lobos and go and confront Esteban Cortez.
Esteban Cortez. I knew your brother.
You killed them all.
They asked for it.
So Esteban Cortez stated, "My men, you killed them all." Does this mean that the Del Lobo gang is now officially wiped out, or is that just this little section? Either way, there's nobody else in the area that could pose a threat to Tumbleweed, so I think it's suffice to say that at least in this area the Del Lobos have been dealt with. Again, on the way back he doesn't really say very much about the sheriff, however it is implied through a few lines that there is a rivalry there.
Sheriff Freeman, he pay you to kill my men. He pay you to kill me. You're just an assassin, a dirty, greedy killer. You like that, you heartless bastard?
It seems as if in the eyes of the Del Lobos, it's Sheriff Freeman who's the villain. Now, for a gang who's killed their way across an entire country to be fixated on one sheriff, just seems as if this sheriff is quite the handful, as we know he sure is.
You asked for Esteban Cortez? Here he is, the son of a bitch.
Mr. Cortez, we meet at last. The cell there is made up nice especially.
You're going to die. Damn you, cabron.
I believe you'll find that figure to your liking. I wouldn't come here looking for bounties for a while. The sheriff can only delegate responsibility so long. I want authority, I got to earn it.
Now there's something interesting about this, because the sheriff says that if he wants authority, he's got to earn it, which implies that he wants authority. And as we know, a lot of people in his position would see it as more of a burden than something to want. Now, I have no doubt that the sheriff means well, but there's something that just simply doesn't add up with him. It's like there's something going on, preaching to the people of Tumbleweed all the while leading it with an iron fist. In Tumbleweed, he is the law. It's like he's desperately trying to control it. And it's like the Del Lobo gang actually took note of Sheriff Freeman's apparent madness, or at the very least his ruthlessness. And so both the Del Lobo's presence and Sheriff Freeman as points have merged into just being points about Sheriff Freeman. So through his apparent madness, I would not be surprised if it was a contributing factor to why Tumbleweed became abandoned. So far, the reasons why Tumbleweed gradually became abandoned was the lack of railroad, which is why the town was already on the decline, and Sheriff Freeman controlling the town with an iron fist. However, there is one more reason that I would like to explore as to why Tumbleweed might have seen a decline. So in the events of Red Dead Redemption 2, it would appear as if Armadillo is cursed, and considering the presence of one very strange entity, that being the strange man apparently watching from the distance as people suffer in this town, the people of New Austin had been speculating. As we learn through some encounter at a campfire, soon Armadillo will be nothing but ghosts and the only town in New Austin will be Tumbleweed. Quite ironic considering Tumbleweed became the ghost town. By the events of Red Dead Redemption, the curse that appears to be afflicting Armadillo, which I'll leave a link to at the end of this video if you want to see a video on that and explaining how there is a curse, has been lifted. And although I wouldn't say Armadillo was necessarily prospering in the events of Red Dead Redemption, the citizens of Armadillo are at least a lot better off than they are in Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, what if the curse wasn't lifted, but was in fact deflected from Armadillo to Tumbleweed? A bit of a thin suggestion, but please do hear me out. As in Red Dead Redemption 1, players had reported strange goings-on in the abandoned town of Tumbleweed, such as seeing demonic faces in mirrors apparently. I couldn't find any evidence of that, so that just might be players' imaginations. But a lot of players did report some unusual goings-on in this ghost town. So maybe the curse that was afflicting Armadillo was deflected onto Tumbleweed, which drove the remaining citizens out. Nothing is known about what happened to the sheriff after Tumbleweed became abandoned, as Sheriff Freeman is not mentioned remotely in Red Dead Redemption. So did he leave with the rest of the people of Tumbleweed, or did he die with his town? I guess we may never know the answer to that one. But at least we can answer why was Tumbleweed abandoned. So of course the railroad not going to Tumbleweed was a huge factor which saw a decline in the town at the very least. Then there's Sheriff Freeman controlling the town with an iron fist, delivering swift, unforgiving justice, controlling the town through fear, the increasing gang activity around the town, and of course, the curse on Armadillo, which in the 4 years between Red Dead Redemption 2's epilogue and Red Dead Redemption was lifted, and while everyone speculated it would have become a ghost town, Tumbleweed took its place. So even if the curse wasn't rebounded back on Tumbleweed, Armadillo picking up again would have seen the decline in the town. So in my mind, these factors are why Tumbleweed was abandoned. But please do let me know what you think down in the comment section. But anyways, thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, share the channel with your friends and all that wonderful stuff, and I'll see you all very soon with another video at some point.